no lives matter. It's a straight war, I'll be real with you. It's just war, we're at war. This isn't like, they say there's no friends at war. So I respect the guy, as you said, he's done well, all that good stuff, but we're fighting.
No, as of yet, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to go get my head bashed in. Sparring is sparring, and we can see some sort of technicality being shown. Now, a lot of people are calling it fake. They're saying that it's set up.
Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, some of the best the sport's got in the heavyweight division. And he said there's no way these guys are actually going in there and sparring to the full extent. Look, you're a fighter. You've had so many comments throughout your life. Do you think Jake is almost asking them to go easy, or do you think this is proper sparring going on?
The point of sparring is to learn. The point of sparring is not for them to get in there and give Jake a concussion so he can't fight.
Anthony Joshua has repeatedly called out Jake Paul's knockout sparring clips as misleading, claiming the footage exaggerates how effective Paul actually is. He explains that true sparring should be balanced and demanding, and says, the ring will ultimately expose reality. While criticizing the staged feel of the videos, Joshua still makes it clear that he respects Paul as a legitimate opponent, worthy of being taken seriously
As a boxer?
Yeah, definitely. He's always wanted to be a boxer. He's got a stand-up game. I respect him as a boxer.
Several analysts have questioned Jake Paul's released sparring footage, arguing that it is edited to showcase only moments where he appears dominant or scores knockdowns. They believe selective clips fail to reveal his overall performance or consistency. Critics suggest that showing 3 or 4 full rounds would give a fairer evaluation. They also point out that the sparring partner who was knocked out lacked high-level skill, making him far easier to catch than an elite heavyweight. These factors raise doubts about how accurately the footage reflects Paul's true readiness, and whether his effectiveness against top competition can be judged from short highlights.
I agree with that. If we're going to see that clip of you knocking this guy down, we want to see at least a full round. We want to see what you're actually doing. If you're going to show us knocking this guy down, show us more. Is his opponent any good? Okay, that's another very good question. His opponent may just be, and we couldn't really see much of him there. He didn't really throw a shot. His opponent might be a nobody. His opponent might be a guy who started box fit a few weeks ago. So that's a very good point. It's things like this we have to actually ask when we, boxers essentially putting up videos of them knocking people out. Who is this guy? You need to know that, because then that kind of qualifies that knockout or knockdown to be good or bad.
Andrew Tate weighed in on Jake Paul's sparring, suggesting that the heavyweight partners are not applying full pressure. He explains that sparring is meant for development and learning, but in these sessions, the fighters appear to be holding back. Tate claims they are being paid by Paul, meaning their priority is completing the rounds rather than testing him seriously. As a result, punches lack full force and offensive intensity is reduced. Tate adds that while these sessions may help Paul practice technique, they fail to recreate the danger and realism of facing a truly competitive, high-level opponent.
That's everything wrong with the sport.
I think as a boxing purist, it's quite upsetting to watch, young fighters struggle to pay the bills and struggle in little shithole gyms around the country trying to get big money fights and going through the Olympics and going through the amateurs and not being able to pay their bills. And I understand how frustrating that can be. So I think that's where the frustration comes from. I don't think it's everything that's wrong with boxing. I think that anything that gets people to tune in to a boxing match is good for the sport.
One more comment that he said was, Jake's been sparring Frank Sanchez, Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, some of the best the sport's got in the heavyweight division. And he said there's no way these guys are actually going in there and sparring to the full extent. Look, you're a fighter. You've had so many comments throughout your life. Do you think Jake is almost asking them to go easy, or do you think this is proper sparring going on?
The point of sparring is to learn. The point of sparring is not for them to get in there and give Jake a concussion so he can't fight. So are they trying to knock Jake out? No. But are they giving him enough work for him to learn?
W. Davies spoke bluntly when addressing Duke about Jake Paul, warning that Paul could flee once the reality of the danger sets in. Referring to the brutal knockout he witnessed Francis Ngannou suffer, Davies stressed that this matchup carries far more risk for Paul than many fans realize. He argued that facing a seasoned heavyweight like Anthony Joshua introduces dangers Paul has never experienced. According to Davies, the seriousness of the challenge will become clear the moment the opening bell rings, making this fight far more than a publicity-driven event.
I watched him knock out Francis Ngannou inside 2 rounds.
Yeah.
How can that go 3 rounds with
Well,
Jake Paul?
It's very hard to knock out somebody that just hasn't come to fight and somebody that's just trying to survive. And that's what I think will happen to Jake
Do you think
Paul.
he'll run?
I think
He'll
he'll run like a thief in the night. Once he sees the size of Joshua, those little 10-ounce gloves that they're going to be wearing, he's going to be petrified and his backside will fall out.
I went to the press conference in Miami for that a couple of weeks ago, and he was planning to motorboat AJ, and he thought differently of it when he was standing with
Good
him.
luck with that, mate.
No, AJ was He'd have got motorboated out of there.
Listen, mate, listen. Good luck with that, because if he starts out with AJ, puts his chin out and starts trying to goad him in, I think Anthony Joshua will definitely iron him out early.
Do you think he finishes his boxing career then?
Let's hope so.
If Jake Paul does something weird and wins, is that impossible?
Nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Highly unlikely, but not impossible.
If you'd been invited to fight Jake Paul for 25, I've heard it's 25 million. That's me behind the scenes. Other people have told me it's 60. Other people have told me it's more for Anthony Joshua. If you had been a current world champion and you'd been offered that fight with Jake Paul, would you have taken it?
100%.
So he had to take it.
He had to take
So
it.
you've got nothing against him taking it?
I've got nothing against him taking it, spending the money even. Still got nothing against that. My concern is for the health and safety of Jake Paul and the sport of boxing.
Because boxing will be pulled into the dock.
Paul has openly discussed the intensity of his recent training, stating in interviews that sparring with elite heavyweights has left him physically worn down, including suffering a nose injury. While promotional footage highlights knockouts, the full sessions tell a more complicated story. Analysts reviewing the sparring noticed that some partners appeared to overreact to Paul's punches. In multiple moments, opponents backed themselves into the ropes after light shots, suggesting the highlights may not fully reflect Paul's actual effectiveness. Observers warn that while the clips look impressive to casual viewers, they may not indicate true readiness for someone with Joshua's power and experience.
This is moved a couple millimeters to this camp. I'm not gonna lie, this sparring the heavyweights, my nose has a slight little something in there. A guy by the name of Frank Sanchez, he definitely cracked it a little bit. But yeah, man, it's bad. Wait, hold on. Look at that, dude. I'm like Squidward, dog. But don't respect me for getting in there. Respect me when I beat his ass. I'm not just walking into a fight. I'm going to win. That's what's gonna shock the world. I will become the king of boxing.
Experts examining Jake Paul's knockout sparring footage have continued to question its realism. They noticed that opponents often responded dramatically to punches that didn't appear particularly heavy, sometimes retreating toward the ropes or corners on their own. This creates an illusion of dominance that may not match Paul's real impact by moving themselves out of position so easily. The sparring partners help generate highlights that amplify Paul's power. Commentators caution that while the videos work well for promotion, they shouldn't be treated as reliable proof that Paul is prepared for an elite heavyweight challenge.
Shot did it or something like that. Like, even if you, especially if you see a replay, sometimes it happens so fast. Like, if it's a replay, usually like, oh, there's the one, or like you get a reaction when someone gets hit. You're not like, oh, I wonder if. Like, if you're questioning it, then typically the fighter gave in or decided to kneel down or push himself out of the ring or wanted to get out of the fight. You can tell right away. Like, when I land a body shot on somebody or when I got hit by a body shot, you could tell. I don't know, you guys can make your own assessment, but to me, this is a little sketchy. To me, the person he was boxing,
DJ Flores, a former trainer of Paul, provided additional context about the motivation behind these sparring choices. Flores explained that Paul's aim goes beyond entertainment, as he wants to prove he can compete with legitimate professional boxers. Unlike earlier opponents from entertainment or other sports, Paul is now deliberately testing himself against larger and more skilled fighters. Flores said this reflects ambition and bravery, showing that Paul is serious about moving beyond novelty matchups and being taken seriously in the boxing world.
Fight and to anybody in the industry, Anthony Joshua is a world champion, a gold medalist. This is a big difference from anybody else that Jake's fought in the past. But he's looking for these big challenges. He wants to fight the toughest guys, and I think with Anthony Joshua, he got exactly that. I mean, Anthony Joshua is a guy I would have never dreamed in a million years Jake would have fought him in his fifth year boxing in a fight situation like this. I thought he would have given it a little more time, but I mean, this is an extremely difficult fight. Anthony Joshua is 6'6", 245 pounds, extremely dangerous, gold medalist, world champion, and I think this is a very, very difficult fight for Jake. So I wouldn't have made this fight, no.
What do you give it in terms of percentage-wise? Like 60% AJ wins, 40% Jake Paul wins, or 50-50, 70-30? How do you give it?
Well, I mean, you got to go up when you go off the resumes. That's what I go off of. A lot of people will say potential, like oh, this could happen, this could happen. I only go off like who's beating who. So if you look at it on paper, it doesn't look like Jake has any chance on paper. But I think that's probably why he wanted to make this fight. And like I said, I'm not in the camp, so I don't know all the conversations that are going on in Camp Jake Paul right now. But On paper, this looks like an extremely difficult fight. And any boxing experts, that I've talked to, whether it's former fighters or whoever, they don't give Jake any chance at all. I'm not saying he doesn't have any chance. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, everybody in the know-how as far as the boxing world, they're like, Jake has zero chance to win this fight. And, it is on paper, though. It does seem like it's early. And it does, seem like it's premature, in my opinion.
So what are you giving it then? A 90-10?
Like AJ's had, I don't know, probably I want to say 13